While I lay in labor with our first child, my husband stepped into the hall to take a business call. 20 minutes later, the nurse brought me his phone by mistake, with open messages from his mistress saying, "Hope you're not stuck there all night." I delivered my baby, smiled for the photos, and filed for divorce before I left the hospital. I'm writing this because I don't know how else to get it out of me. It's been almost a year since it happened, but the pain still hits in waves. And the rage? That hasn't gone anywhere. I need to say what happened, exactly how it happened, because I lived it. I lived through it while my body was literally being torn open to bring a life into this world. And the man who was supposed to be my partner, he was texting another woman while I screamed through contractions. We live in Charleston, South Carolina, just outside the city near James Island. It's not glamorous. Just regular working-class life. I teach first grade at an elementary school about 15 minutes from home. Derek, my now ex-husband, was in real estate. Not the rich agent kind. More like property management, flipping rundown homes for a quick buck. He was good at talking, smiling, closing deals. That should have been my first red flag. We met at a mutual friend's party 5 years ago. He was charming, funny, a little cocky. He had that southern boy charm that made people think he was raised right. I fell for it hard. We got married fast, about a year after we started dating. Looking back, I ignored a lot of small things. Like how he always flirted with waitresses, or how he kept his phone face down, or how he never let me meet most of his coworkers. But we were married. We were building a life. And when we decided to have a baby, it felt like the next step. Getting pregnant wasn't easy. We tried for over a year. I had 2 early miscarriages that nearly broke me. Derek was supportive during all of it, but not in the way you'd think. He'd say things like, "Maybe your body just needs to chill," or "We can always try again later." It always felt like I was grieving alone. When I finally made it past the first trimester with Noah, I started to believe maybe things were finally turning around. Derek was more attentive. He went to ultrasound appointments. He helped pick out paint for the nursery. He even read baby books. Or pretended to. I thought maybe he'd grown up. I was wrong. Labor started at 2:06 a.m. on a Thursday. I remember the time exactly because I was awake scrolling on my phone, too uncomfortable to sleep. The contraction hit me like a stomach cramp and then another one came 10 minutes later. After an hour, I woke Derek. He groaned and mumbled, "Are you sure it's not false labor again?" I told him no, this was different. We got dressed and drove to the hospital. He was quiet the whole ride. I thought he was nervous. Now I wonder if he was texting her on the way. They admitted me around 3:45 a.m. I was 5 centimeters. The contractions hurt, but I was excited. We were finally going to meet our baby. I held Derek's hand. I cried a little. I thought this was going to be one of the best days of our lives. He stayed in the room for a while, mostly on his phone. He kept stepping to the corner of the room to check on the house stuff, texting and pacing. He said there was some mix-up with permits on one of his flips. Around 10:30 a.m., he leaned down and said, "I gotta take this call." "It's the contractor." I nodded. I was in too much pain to argue. My back felt like it was splitting open. I figured he'd step out for 5 minutes and come right back. He was gone over 20 minutes. I know because I was watching the clock on the wall. Every contraction, I'd time it and glance at that damn clock, wishing he'd come back so I could squeeze his hand. Then the nurse walked in holding a phone. "Hey sweetie, your husband left this at the nurse's desk. He must have dropped it on his way out. Thought you might want it." She placed it on my tray and walked out before I could say anything. It was Derek's phone. Unlocked. Open. Right on his messages. And there it was. The most recent message, "Shelby, hope you're not stuck there all night. I've got that thing you like on under my jeans." Another came right after, Shelby, can't wait for this weekend. Don't let her guilt you into staying too long. I felt my entire body go cold. The kind of cold that crawls up your neck and makes you dizzy. My mouth went dry. I couldn't breathe right. I just stared at those words. There were photos too. A picture she sent the night before, wearing some cheap lingerie in a bathroom mirror. He replied with a flame emoji and "You're killing me." He wasn't even hiding it. There were weeks of messages. Hotel confirmations. Private jokes. Her asking when he'd finally leave me. And all I could think was, I'm laying here, trying to push out his child, and this is what he's doing? He came back in about 5 minutes later. I didn't say anything. I didn't throw the phone. I didn't scream. I was already in enough pain. He picked up the phone off the table and didn't even notice the screen had changed. 3 hours later, I delivered our son. I named him Noah, just like we planned. Derek cried when he held him. I didn't. I smiled for every picture. I let the nurses think we were this perfect new family. I let Derek hold my hand and tell me how proud he was of me. I didn't say a word. Because I already knew. I wasn't going home with him. I waited until he left. He said he needed to go home, shower, clean up the house a bit. Said he'd be back with clean clothes for me and Noah. As soon as the door shut, I asked for the hospital social worker. I told her I needed help filing an emergency custody order. She looked at me like she didn't understand at first. Then I showed her the screenshots. My friend Ellie brought me my laptop that night. She stayed in the room with me and helped me screenshot everything. We uploaded everything to Google Drive. We even backed it up on a USB. Just in case. The next day, I had the divorce paperwork in my hands. Derek had no idea. I let him keep visiting. I let him post the baby pictures on Facebook with captions like, "Welcome to the world, buddy. I'm already so proud of you." I didn't even correct the people congratulating us on our perfect little family. Let them think whatever they wanted. Because I already knew the storm that was coming for him. After I signed the paperwork in that hospital bed, something in me changed. I wasn't the same person who cried in the bathroom when I saw the first faint line on the pregnancy test. I wasn't the woman who tried to keep the peace or blamed herself when Derek came home late and didn't touch me for weeks. That woman was gone. What came next wasn't rage. It was colder than that. Calculated. I didn't scream. I didn't confront him in front of nurses. I didn't even tell him I knew. Not yet. I wanted to make sure everything was ready before I dropped the truth on him. I wanted it to be clean, final, and unfixable. Derek came back that night, smiling, acting like nothing had happened. He kissed Noah on the forehead and kissed me on the cheek. I didn't flinch. I leaned into it, smiled like a woman in love. He didn't notice my hands were shaking under the blanket. I asked him how the contractor call went. He said it was annoying but handled. Then he joked about how Shelby from accounting keeps blowing up my phone with dumb questions, and I swear to God I almost laughed. He used her real name. I kept playing along. I needed more time. The next twist came 2 days later. Shelby messaged me. I didn't know how she got my number. I assumed Derek left something open, or maybe she went through his phone when he wasn't looking. Either way, I was holding Noah when the message came in. Shelby, unknown number. Look, I didn't know you were still together. I thought you were separated. I'm not that kind of person. Shelby, he said you were co-parenting. That you were staying together for the baby but the marriage was over. Shelby, I wouldn't have gotten involved if I knew. I swear. She must have sensed I knew. Or maybe Derek told her I'd found out. I didn't respond at first. I just sat there, reading her words, wondering how much of it was real. Then she sent something else. Shelby, I think he's seeing someone else too. there are gaps. He lies to me too. I'm done with him. That made me pause. Could he really be that reckless? Was I just one of a list? I responded with one line, send me everything. She didn't even hesitate. Maybe she was angry, maybe she wanted revenge too. Within an hour she sent me screenshots, photos, messages. Some of it I already had. Some was new. One message from Derek to her, just 3 weeks before I gave birth, read, "Don't worry about her. She's too tired all the time to notice anything. We're just roommates now." Roommates. I was carrying his child. My back ached so bad I couldn't sleep for more than 2 hours a night. I was working full-time up until my due date, cooking meals, folding tiny onesies, and crying alone on the bathroom floor when I couldn't feel the baby kick. And he was calling me a roommate. I used the screenshots she sent to add more evidence to the divorce file. My lawyer told me it would strengthen my case. The judge would see the pattern, the repeated disrespect, the betrayal during a vulnerable time. But the real twist came when I found out Derek had been lying about our finances too. I got a call from the bank while I was still healing. They asked about a joint account I didn't recognize. When I checked into it, I found out Derek had opened a second business account in both our names, without telling me. Over the past 4 months, he had been moving money from our main account into this hidden one. Thousands of dollars. I confronted the bank manager, showed them the texts, the birth certificate, the custody filings. They froze the account and started an investigation. Derek had no idea. That weekend, he showed up at my house like nothing was wrong. He brought diapers and baby wipes, trying to act like a devoted father. I let him hold Noah for a bit. Watched him bounce our son in his arms and talk in a stupid baby voice like he hadn't just stolen from us. Then I sat him down and handed him a printed folder. It had screenshots from his phone. Screenshots from Shelby. The account statements. The emergency custody filing. The divorce papers. I didn't say anything. I watched his face go pale, then red, then frozen. He flipped through everything like he was looking for a loophole. "This is a mistake," he finally said. "You're taking this way too far. We can work this out." "You stole from me," I said. "It was for us. I was going to surprise you." "You were going to surprise me with a trip to Asheville with your mistress?" He opened his mouth. Closed it. Then tried to laugh, like this was all a big joke. "You're hormonal. You just had a baby. This isn't you." Wrong thing to say. I stood up and said, "You need to leave." He didn't leave quietly. He threatened to take Noah. Said he'd fight for full custody. Said I was unstable, mentally unwell, not thinking clearly. I told him to go ahead and try. Told him to show the judge the messages. The second account. The Mistress. Told him to explain how a stable father was cheating and stealing while his wife was in labor. He left with nothing that day. The next few weeks were a mess. He blew up my phone. Called me every name in the book. Then he tried to apologize. Switched to "let's co-parent peacefully" mode. I ignored most of it. He told his family I was crazy. That I kicked him out for no reason. So I mailed them copies of the screenshots. His mom blocked him. His dad called me to say he was ashamed. His sister took my side and started visiting me every week to help with Noah. Derek's world started to fall apart. And I wasn't done yet. Things got worse for Derek fast, and not because of anything I said. It was all because of what he'd already done, and how I made sure everyone finally saw it. 2 weeks after he walked out of our house with that smug look, like he still had a shot, he showed up to court for the first custody hearing. He brought his lawyer. Some slick guy from a downtown firm who thought raising his voice and throwing around the word father's rights was going to scare me. They tried to paint me as vindictive. Said I was using postpartum hormones as a weapon. Said I was trying to alienate the child from his father. He even claimed I was trying to erase him from Noah's life out of spite. I didn't say much. My lawyer did all the talking. She came in with a binder. Not a folder, a binder. She laid out every screenshot. Every message. Every financial transfer. The judge sat there with a straight face until she read the text where Derek said to Shelby, "I'll be back," before she even notices. She's got her head in baby stuff. I'm in the clear. The judge looked up at him and asked, "Is this accurate?" Derek opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Then he tried to lie. Said they were jokes. Said the money was misplaced. Said Shelby was a business contact. The judge didn't buy it. He gave me temporary full custody that same day. Ordered Derek to submit to a financial audit for the joint accounts. Ordered supervised visitation until things were sorted out. Derek didn't look so smug walking out of the courthouse that night. He sent me the longest email of my life. It was a confession. But not the real kind, more like a pity letter. He said he didn't know how to be a husband, that he felt trapped, that he messed up under pressure. Said he loved me and Noah more than anything, and just needed a second chance. He ended it with, "Please don't destroy my life. I still have my business, and I need to work to provide for our son." That line got to me. Because what he didn't know was that his business was already falling apart. Remember that second account he opened in both our names? One of the deposits had come from a homeowner he promised to flip a property for $30,000. That homeowner reached out to me. Apparently, Derek had ghosted her for over a month. No updates, no work done on the house, just disappeared with the money. And when she found my name tied to the account, she assumed I was in on it. Once I explained what happened and showed her the court filings, she called the state licensing board. Then she filed a police report. Derek lost his real estate license within 3 weeks. The woman went public with her story. Posted in local Charleston Facebook groups, left reviews, told everyone who would listen. Others started commenting, saying Derek had done the same thing to them, overpromised, underdelivered, took money, and vanished. Within a month, he was being investigated for fraud. Shelby, who had gone quiet for a bit, popped back into the picture. She messaged me again, this time sounding angry. Said Derek told her I set him up. That I framed him, and that none of this would have happened if I'd just kept quiet. She was still seeing him. Even after all of it. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Because 2 days later, she posted a rant on Instagram, full meltdown. Said Derek had moved in with her, promised to start over, and then cleaned out her savings account. She posted screenshots. Same playbook. Sweet talk. Promises. Then betrayal. She deleted the post within hours, but not before I screenshotted everything. Derek came crawling back again, this time worse than before. He showed up at my house unannounced, in the rain, soaking wet and yelling from the front porch. Said he had nothing left. Said I ruined him. Said he'd lost everything because I couldn't let go of one mistake. I opened the door just long enough to say, "I'm raising your son to be better than you." Then I shut it again. He banged on the door for 10 minutes before Ellie, my best friend, called the police. They warned him to stay away. But it wasn't over. 2 weeks later, I got a letter from his lawyer. Derek was demanding 50-50 custody. Even after everything. Even after the affair, the money, the public embarrassment, the threats. That's when I knew this wasn't about Noah. It was about control. He couldn't stand that I'd taken the power back. That I wasn't crying and begging him to come home. That I'd exposed him and still stood taller than ever. So I made a decision. If he wanted war, he was going to get one. But I wasn't going to yell or fight dirty. I was going to do it the same way I gave birth, with every ounce of pain turned into strength. And I still had one card left to play. Derek's letter demanding 50-50 custody was the last straw. It wasn't about our son. It was never about Noah. It was about pride. Image. Power. He didn't love Noah. He wanted to win. He didn't realize I was already 5 steps ahead. I hired a private investigator. I didn't do it out of spite. I did it because my lawyer said if Derek wanted shared custody, the judge would expect proof that he was stable, trustworthy, and capable of parenting. And I knew he wasn't. What the investigator found made even my lawyer stop talking mid-sentence. First, Derek was living with Shelby. Again. She let him back in after her meltdown. Probably because he convinced her I was out to destroy him. But that wasn't all. He wasn't just living off her. He was using her name to open new accounts, new credit cards. One of them had a $7,000 balance in just 2 months, mostly from bars, hotels, and online gambling. He was also listed on a police report from a bar fight downtown, though no charges were filed. Worse, he had been showing up late, sometimes not at all, to his supervised visits with Noah. The court monitors logged it every time. He was either half-drunk, smelled like weed, or claimed to be stuck in traffic while posting selfies on Instagram from a boat. All of that went into a new report. My lawyer presented it to the court. But I wasn't done. I reached out to every woman he ever worked with. Not to start drama, but to build a pattern. And boy, did I find one. 2 assistants he worked with in his old firm came forward and gave signed statements saying Derek regularly made inappropriate comments and blurred personal boundaries. One said he offered her a raise if she went on a weekend trip with him. She said no, and got demoted. My lawyer filed those into the record. Then came the final blow. The woman who first contacted me about the missing renovation money? She sued him. Officially. And during discovery, we found something that blew everything up. Derek had forged my signature on a contractor's agreement and a lien waiver. That was criminal. With everything stacked against him, Derek tried to run. Literally. He stopped showing up to court. Didn't respond to filings. Ignored visitation schedules. Then one day, he vanished. 3 weeks passed. No calls. No texts. Nothing. Until one morning, I got a call from an unknown number. It was a hospital in Jacksonville, Florida. Derek had been admitted the night before. He was drunk, bruised, and picked up by police after crashing his car into a pole. No one else was hurt, thankfully. He told the hospital staff he had no emergency contact. Then someone found his wallet, saw my name, and called me. I told them I wasn't his wife anymore. I told them he was Noah's father, and that was it. They asked if I wanted to speak with him. I said no. Back in court, with him missing and everything documented, the judge granted me full custody. Not supervised. Not temporary. Full, permanent custody. Derek's parental rights weren't terminated, but they were restricted to 0 contact until he could prove stability through rehab, employment, and legal clearance. Which, let's be honest, may never happen. He tried to email me once after that. Said he was getting help and asked if he could see Noah just for a minute. I didn't answer. Because Noah doesn't need a man who cheats, lies, steals, and runs the second life gets hard. He needs me. And I've got him. As for Shelby? Last I heard, she filed for bankruptcy. Derek drained her accounts, stole her laptop, and left a hole in her drywall where he punched it during a fight. She tried to warn other women about him online, but people stopped listening. Because even victims lose sympathy when they keep going back to the fire. So what happened to me? I went back to work part-time when Noah turned 6 months. My school held my job, and my coworkers decorated my desk with balloons and tiny shoes. Ellie moved in with me for a few months to help. We laughed more than I thought I could. We cried some too. I learned how to change diapers with one hand while answering parent emails with the other. I learned how to live on a tighter budget, how to ask for help, how to say no and mean it. I also learned something about revenge. It's not about rage. Not about screaming or flipping tables. It's about standing still, planting your feet, and letting the truth speak louder than anything else. It's about surviving in full view. It's about letting them burn their own house down. One day, Noah will ask where his father is. And I'll tell him the truth. Not all at once. But enough. I'll tell him his mother loved someone who didn't deserve it, but that love gave her the strength to protect him with everything she had. I'll tell him the man who gave him life was weak, and the women who raised him were strong. And I'll make damn sure he grows up nothing like the man who tried to destroy us. Because I didn't just survive that day in the hospital. I started over. And I never looked back.